Bringing you the voice and vision of custom culture and lifestyle, as seen through the eyes of this South Texas duo. Welcome to the Custom Couple. Justin, welcome back to the Custom Couple.
Happy to be here. Only half of you. I knew Sam would be bored, so she didn't show up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, not at all. She's under the weather today, so it's finally getting cold in Texas, and immediately that she responded to it with the sniffles.
Oh, very nice. This is a great time to have the sniffles or a sneezing fit or a coughing fit, because everybody looks at you like you're bringing the Black Death into the grocery store.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 2020 all over again.
Right. Especially in the fall. Now we're not wearing masks, so we're getting the sniffles again. So how have you been? I haven't talked to you for a bit.
Well, we've actually been doing really good. I mean, it's just been kind of a whirlwind of just, event after event. And then we've lined up some podcast scheduling stuff that's just kept us really busy. And then we jumped on, and now we're doing 2 podcasts about every week now. So
oh wow,
yeah. So we do our podcast, and then we do a segment show for Hussy magazine.
Okay.
So yeah, now
that's pinup stuff, I assume, right?
Yeah, they do a lot of the pinup and lowbrow art, and a lot of the custom culture stuff. Like they also, in their magazine, they also have a lot of articles written in by from different folks. Actually, one of our other sponsors is a writer for Hussy magazine, Matt Mills up at Pap's Chop Shop.
Okay.
So, and they've got just a magazine full of women. And full of really good articles. And the second issue that's coming out, Scratch from Scratch's Garage up there in your neck of the woods, well, Fort Worth.
Okay.
He did a feature article with them, and we actually went up to his shop last weekend, and we're able to sit down and do a podcast interview for him. So, we're just hitting it on all fronts right now.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. If you're up in my neck of the woods, you didn't call me. I'm disappointed for sure.
Trust me, I got several angry messages.
I was going to say, there's a bunch of us up here. Yeah. Kind of the same for me. It's been event after event, and, just did the Pistons and Paint, and then the Invasion and all that good stuff. So kind of winding it down for the year. Couple toy runs, and I think we're done until, I guess, January.
Yeah. We've got toy runs and a couple of food drives that we're doing. Our car club actually does Meals on Wheels for Thanksgiving.
Oh, very nice.
So I want to say that last year we did about 10 families where we loaded up our cars down with food, and we're delivered to, I want to say it was about 9 or 10 families, and I'm not sure what we've got for this year, but we just do it every year. So
like cook food, or just food so they can cook?
Well, so Meals on Wheels actually provides us with all of the food, and I want to say that it was like pre-made meals that we delivered. So then all they would have to do is heat them up. But yeah, I want to say it was about 10 families, and we'll probably do about that this year as well. But it's a wonderful time. And then of course we do food drives at my work all through the holidays as well. So, and I'm part of for those of y'all that watch The Office, I'm part of the party planning committee. So anytime that there's anything social going on, I'm the one involved with it. So I'm involved with people getting, donations put away and buying toys for the kids for the angel tree this year and all of that fun shit. So
Excellent. Yeah, we always go get an angel personally, and this is the time of year I put a bunch of $10 bills in my car, and if there's a homeless guy out, that's how I kind of do my charity.
yeah,
Because you know what, whether they're going to find a nice room with it or getting high, hey, everybody's got to live, right?
I mean, yeah, we're just trying to make it day by day that it's a little
Exactly.
less terrible. So yeah,
Right.
I totally get it. Yeah, I'm the same way. Especially this time of year. It gets colder, and I hate the cold. So
Right.
I can't imagine being out in the cold.
Yeah, I have a jacket addiction. I will not lie. One of my hobbies is going to estate sales, and I'm a bigger guy. And if I find something that fits me, I'll just buy it.
Yep.
And so I buy a lot of older jackets, winter jackets, and stuff like that. And if I don't like them, I'll try them out. And away they go to a homeless guy. There's a guy around here who's I'm 6 feet tall, and he's got to be like 5 1/4 feet tall, and he walks around in this giant black leather trench coat that I gave him one year. It drags on the ground. So,
Hey, but
well,
he was not complaining about it, I'm sure.
absolutely not. I just felt like a Nazi wearing it.
Well, folks, we got Justin Husman on the line with the Phoenix Insurance, one of our wonderful sponsors, and we've had him on the podcast before, and we really just wanted to bring him back on and kind of give y'all a rundown of how insurance works and how the Phoenix and other insurance companies out there how they can help you out. And because I've been running a bunch of cars dirty, no insurance at all. And
That's you know that's why I joined the Navy. Actually, when I was 19 years old, I was driving around with no insurance, and I took a hard right into a guy with a pickup truck, and I had nothing, and I was like, "Well, out of town I go. How far away can you send me?" And away I went. Uh, but yeah, it's so insurance is one of those weird things that you only really learn about by buying, which I don't think is really the best way to do it, right? So I'll preface our conversation with I'm going to start about as big picture as you can get. And then, Matt, any place you've got questions, please feel free to ask. But I do a ton of custom insurance, so I have this conversation a lot. It's the same whether it's Jeeps or whatever. You got to first understand kind of how it works because it's a little more complicated than the cartoons on TV and Flow makes you think it is, right?
right.
You know, the first thing I'll start with is there's three ways to buy insurance. Okay. There's three, they call them channels in the industry. So you can do direct insurance, which is like 1-800 insurance, Geico, Progressive, et cetera, right? You can do what's called captive agency. So a captive would be your state farms and your farmers and like USAA. When you call that person, that's what they have to sell.
Okay.
Okay. And then I am what's called an independent agent. And whether you work with me, the Phoenix Insurance, one of the largest classic and custom exotic insurance agencies in the United States, or you work with any other independent insurance agency, I believe that's the way to go because a capped 1-800, you're talking to somebody who is paid hourly by that company. A captive, you're talking to someone who is essentially owned by that company. They only really have one option. So obviously it must be the best one, right?
Of
And then
course.
me, I've got 40 different options for whatever home, auto, for me, classic, exotic, because it all depends on how you use it, who you are, what do you do, and how much do you want to protect, you know? And so every insurance company has a perfect fit for all intents and purposes that gets the best rate. If you only have one, obviously, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything that you see looks like a nail. Right.
right.
Right. So I have a complete toolbox with tools that, frankly, sometimes I might have to refresh myself on how to use, but I still have it.
hmm
Right. And so that's the advantage to working with an independent agent because it really is it's a really liquid market, if you will. It moves a lot.
Yeah.
You know, this is the time of year when insurance companies, and so I'm an agent. So, you called me an insurance company earlier, but I'm an agent. So think of me like the store. right? You come to me and I can help you find the right fit. We like to use clothes a lot, but since we're culture people, we'll use tools. I'm O'Reilly, but I don't have to ask if you have a standard or an automatic if you want windshield wipers. But you come in and I'm going to find you the answer that fits for you and your application.
Right.
Whereas if you went to a tool shop that only had, again, a hammer, that's going to come in handy every once in a while. Sometimes that'll be the right thing that you need. But other times, and a lot of times, we all know a hammer will work, right? It might solve the problem. Is it the best tool for the job? Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Right. And so, that's the first thing you got to know about insurance is what channel are you buying from? And that's not to say one is better than the other. You just have to understand that the reason State Farm and Geico and Flow and all that sort of stuff is because they advertise a lot.
Yeah, of
Who
course,
did,
and they
yeah,
use I mean they use primetime advertisements, and they've got a gimmick to sell.
yeah, even more than the prime timing, they're everywhere. They're on Facebook and wherever else you may be, right? YouTube, that's where they are. They're going to advertise to you. Who do you think pays for that?
Probably their customers.
Bingo. And that's an important thing to remember is that you're paying for all of that. So if you really love Aaron Rodgers, well, by God, then you support him by buying State Farm because that's what pays for it. My companies, though, they advertise to me, and that looks a lot like, pens on my desk and, incentives for gift cards and stuff like that. But really, none of that matters to me because what I'm here for is to really help people navigate this weird world. Because all the things on TV really tell you you got to pay less, you got to pay less. But it's a trick because the insurance companies want you to pay less so that you buy less coverage. So while you may save $20 a month in your pocket, the insurance company saves $7,000 on the back end because you didn't have the coverage that you needed for that claim.
Yeah.
And it's all a big trick. One of the things that I hear a lot when used to when I talk to a lot of people individually was, I love my company. They're great. And that's really, that's cool. Right. But I want you to, and they won't leave. And I swear, Matt, we have people who we talk to who call us up and go, man, I want to do some insurance for you guys. I want to save some money. That's their goal. And we've saved them $1,000 real. That's real money, no matter how much you make, right?
Yeah.
We're saving them $1,000 a year, and they don't want to move because they've just been there so long. It's crazy. It's just a
Wow.
crazy because yeah, it's nuts. Like, and you don't get anything more for it. And frankly, honestly, insurance changes so much, and there's always new added value to, hey, now you've got glass coverage, or hey, you have key coverage. We have one company, my favorite company. I've been with them several times. They do cell phone coverage for up to $500. So if you like, I travel with my cell phone in my lap, and when I stand up, it flies out of my lap. I've broken the habit now, but I did that when I had this insurance company.
Hmm.
They bought me 3 phones, and it didn't affect me at all
Wow.
because it was one of those added value coverages that these companies put in. So we won't save people $1,000 because, oh man, I've been with USA, or you're in San Antonio, so USA
Yeah.
or State Farm or whoever for so long, and they feel this attachment to them. And that company does not give a shit about you, I promise. They'll drop you in a heartbeat if you become unprofitable. And that's the real
Absolutely.
key. Yeah, and this is the strangest industry in a lot of ways because people are both incredibly emotionally attached to this thing they hate and at the same time relatively detached from it. So the more it stays out of mind, the happier they are,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know.
with insurance in our house is always a sore subject. For one, because I have a wreck on my record that I was not involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And
What?
I
What do you
wasn't
mean you weren't
involved.
involved in it?
My ex-wife got in a car wreck.
Ah, okay.
I wasn't even there, but I think the wrecks come off your record somewhere around the 5 year mark, I believe, where
Mm,
it's not.
5 years for most companies. Some are actually going longer, but Yeah, it can affect you for as long as 5 years. Yeah.
So since I was named on the insurance, every time I get insurance now, that comes to haunt me. And
So
it's
let me
been
ask, have you worked with an agent or have you just called 1-800 numbers?
most likely it's probably just been 1-800 numbers for the last couple years because Sam does deal with all of that, and
Hmm.
typically she goes in and finds all of the best deals she can, and we've never actually worked with an agent, so that may
Like,
be the fix to all of that.
well, and it is because a good agent, like, so Matt, I'm just like you, man. Well, I'm not quite as thin as you, but I'm like you as a human being, okay? And I hate paying for insurance just as much as you do.
Yeah,
Now, I have absolutely taken advantage of it because I understand what I'm buying and there's a trade-off and I get it. Trust me, I drive convertibles. The insurance companies have bought me a couple cars because my roofs are cut or whatever. Convertibles are expensive, right?
right, yeah,
And I have the same goals, but you see, what I know about your situation is that a good agent, if you weren't driving that, that really shouldn't hang on to you, whether you were named on the policy or not, because you didn't have the accident. The
correct,
only mistake you made was being with her, and I can actually fix that. So, like for instance, you have home and auto, and well, you should have home, auto, and hot rod insurance, right? And
correct,
so
yeah,
there's three separate things, and at most, with one company, you might end up with two policies if we put the cars in the same place. So think about what an agent like myself, I have thousands of policies. So I can't do it all the time, but if there's any hookup, it's with a guy that has some power that says, "Hey, look, here's the situation with Matt. He wasn't involved. He was married to this woman. He's since shed that weight, so we can just exclude that, right?" And it can happen as long as you're working with somebody because she's no longer that risk.
right,
It's all about transfer of risk,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And they don't know how much you drink, so we're pretty easy on that one.
The drinking and then the calling of Uber. Those are the two
Right.
things that
No.
go on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm just kidding. I having
No.
bought you a couple greyhounds in the past, but or sorry, salty dogs. But and that's what a good agent does is you have to think about it this way. That 800 guy, he's getting paid by the company, so whose side is he on? That captive guy, that company can, they say they're their own agents, but here's the truth of it: State Farm, Farmers, whoever owns those policies,
Yeah,
and they can pull the rug on that guy whenever. Whereas I own my policies. Yes, they're with a company, and I have responsibilities and all that sort of thing, but ultimately, I have more juice than you. And so I can really flex my muscle, especially with classic stuff. We had a guy call today. I think I'm getting a little bit old because he had a 96 Tahoe he wanted to put on his classic policy.
oh, I know. Yeah.
And
25
me,
years.
well, but it's not just a number, it's how collectible is it, right?
Oh, okay.
And and so yeah, I mean, you could have a 96 Kia, but nobody's looking for that. So it has zero value aside from Blue Book, right? Well,
Right.
this guy's 96 Tahoe is two doors. It's been restored. It's a nice looking truck, 100,000 miles. So yeah, I would call that a classic as a two door. Nice wheels on it. Not to my taste for a collectible, but to each his own. I certainly have seen them at car
But a
shows, and this one was
96 with 100,000 miles on it, that's low miles
that's
right there.
relative to it,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so he called me, and I was actually able to get him a classic policy on that because I have that juice, if you will. So
Sure.
that's why a good agent is really important. And one of the things that we get a lot is people when they call into us, it's a lot of kind of hiding their cards from us, right? You not telling me about your accident, hoping it doesn't show up,
Right. Yeah,
right?
that's
And there's a lot of that because you know you don't know, you're walking into the dark, but I'm the guy with the flashlight. And so when you work with a good agent can really help you navigate this incredibly complicated system that you are never trained how to navigate. What do you do for a living again, Matt? Remind me.
I'm an aircraft engine mechanic.
There you go. So you have a specialty. That's not everybody can do that, right?
Correct.
I mean, I think taking off classes, sure. Anybody can do what I do too if you're interested in it. I know that I probably couldn't do it, right? I do very light mechanic stuff. I think that yours is probably more complicated into higher tolerances than I'm into.
What's funny is like everybody thinks that my job transfers over to cars, and
Hmm.
it does not. Like my job is very different from working on a car. When it comes to cars, I have the basic skill sets and knowledge of how to take care of a few different things. But yeah, it's really funny. They're like, "Oh man, you must build the most badass cars," and I'm like, "No, I
Not
do
unless I
not."
put a jet engine in it.
I mean, it's a possibility, but yeah, no, I do not build badass cars. I know some people that do though, and that's always a good perk.
We both do. Honestly, I don't build my own cars either. I was really proud of myself because I spent like 4 hours last weekend doing a paint correction on one of my cars. I mean, I should have just paid somebody to do it because it was kind of a waste of my time, but it was fun. I felt like I accomplished something, right?
And that's my extent with it is I'll do an oil change and be like, man, I am such
Right.
a grease
Woo!
monkey.
Look at me. Right, exactly. I'll put coveralls on, do the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
But and so that's why we use experts. I use experts. You're an expert. So why wouldn't you work with an expert on something like this, right? Because are you going to brag about if you have a fender bender and some chick bumps into your car, right? Because she's busy texting or doing whatever.
Yeah.
And she bumps into your car, are you going to brag about, well, they didn't pay me what it was worth, but dude, it was so cheap every month?
Yeah, no.
Because that's the attitude that people come. There's sacrifices. Insurance is ultimately step up to the table, put your chips on what you think is going to happen, or where you don't want to end up in the lurch. But that's a better way to say it, right?
Right.
Put your chips on where it ends, and away you go. Like there's a coverage called personal injury protection. And what that does is that covers you if you get hurt in an auto accident, covers lost wages and medical bills, whatever. Like if you have to miss a couple days or something.
Right.
I I don't carry that. Depending on what your income level is, you might not need it. So that's the kind of thing an agent can help you determine, should I do this? But then also you have to consider some other things that you might not think about. So I have a rainy day pickup truck, we'll call it. Okay, it's a little 99 Ford Ranger, bought it cheap, cash, good car, 50,000 miles on it. So there's collectible for you,
There you
right?
go.
But it's my beater truck. And so it's not worth a tremendous amount, although in today's market, who knows, right? But it's a $5,000 truck all day long.
Mini trucking is coming back, man.
Oh, that's true. Maybe we'll lower it and pinstripe it. That was my youth. Um, but that truck's not worth a whole lot, but I keep full coverage on it. I could go buy another $5,000 truck if I chose, but with a $500 deductible, it's going to net me back, we'll say 4,500 bucks should something happen, right? And that costs me $35 a year, $40 a year. So I don't have to carry that, but I don't miss 35 or $45 a year. I would miss when that truck is totaled because I live in Dallas. It will happen.
Oh my God, I know.
And I really only drive it on rainy days. So odds are even better. I'll miss that money I don't have anymore.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's kind of that trade off. People, consumers, because commercials tell them to, get so fixated on um, what you pay versus what you're going to get paid,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
and
And
that's kind of been a bargaining chip when we've had to find new insurance with us like we've talked. It's been a nightmare, really.
mhm.
And it's kind of a bargaining chip with some of these companies that they'll let you pay less if you promise to pay a higher deductible. So if something
Yeah.
does happen, then
So that's like
you're
skin in the
stuck with
game.
you're stuck with a huge deductible just
Well,
trying to
yes and
save a
no.
buck.
I mean, the question is to ask yourself. So you have an accident that you didn't have, right?
Right.
How is your record otherwise? Let's set aside speeding tickets.
One other accident that was recent. It was
Okay.
I rear-ended a lady.
Okay.
She quick stopped at a stoplight that was actually green, and I did not.
Yep. Not horrible though, right? So
Right? No,
ultimately, you're not a guy who's driving around like you're in a movie, bumping off every car on either side of the street,
absolutely
right?
not.
That's not who
Yeah.
you are. So maybe the risk is worth that higher deductible. On my home, I live in North Texas and I carry, which is hail central,
Yeah.
and I carry a fairly high deductible for my roof. I mean, not crazy high. It's the standard is 1% and I carry a 2%. It's just double, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But it's a calculated risk because I've also owned a home for 15 years. And in that time, I've had to pay for one roof. I've saved the money from the that I in the premium from the higher deductible to do that,
That
right?
you've never had to pay. Yeah.
Well, not now it will. It's dark outside. We'll see, right? But yeah,
Now that we've said it, nobody knocked
exactly.
on
There's
wood.
always there's always Murphy's law at play when it comes to insurance. But that higher deductible isn't a scam as long as someone's really discussing it and making decisions with helping guide you into decision,
Yeah.
right? So if this is your first house and it's a starter house and you and Sam are young and it's not super expensive, right? I might suggest if you're just getting your life started, I know that you don't know, but I would guess you don't have a whole bunch of spare money laying around. So there we go towards a lower deductible and maybe look at some other coverage. And that's what a good agent does.
Right.
If you can
Exactly.
start your shopping by setting aside, hey, I think I know what I'm doing, it would help a lot if you have a good agent, right? Because once again, you think a high deductible is a bad thing. In the right circumstances, it can be. My wife's car, she does bump into shit. I know she's not going to listen, so I can say whatever I want about her. Uh, but she does bump into things. So I actually carry low deductibles on her car. Me, I drive fast everywhere and I know exactly what I'm doing. And ultimately, I know the risk I'm taking, but I carry high deductibles on my cars because I also drive nice cars. So I'm going to get more.
Yeah.
It's a trade off, right? And so that's kind of the way you have to approach it. What do you have to cover? The state minimum will make you legal. But what do you need to cover is something a good agent can guide you into.
Yeah, and see that's always a big question for people, is like, well, you carry liability only, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, you obviously don't need your vehicle if something were to happen to it, you can pay for it out of pocket. Yeah, no, I carry full coverage on everything because if something were to happen to it, that's me not getting to work. That's me not,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. So my daily is a 20-year-old Jaguar, right? And it's a nice. And trust me, I spend way more in repairs than the car is worth, but I love it. But it's still a 20-year-old car, and ultimately, it's not going to really net me a ton of money back if something happens. But I still carry deductibles on it because it's not that expensive, all things considered, right?
right.
Liability only. If you drive, I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't know, name some shitbox car, right? If you drive that,
Anything Johnny
okay,
Plumber drives.
Gina's BMW, uh, but
Oh, they're
you know,
gonna
it,
love me for that one.
they're going to be. She's probably going to message me here in 10 minutes, but you know, if it's not a car that really matters and you can afford to replace it, and Gina's BMW is a nice car, I'm just kidding, but let's say a Kia, whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Some Kia bullshit. That's a $4,000 car. No, it's not going to be necessarily easy to replace it if that's a problem for you, but also there's a tote the note lot that'll finance you. So it's a trade-off between what do you need and what do you need and what do you want. If you
exactly.
want a low premium, then you don't really need that much insurance. Here's the real secret to saving the most money on insurance: don't own anything or go anywhere, and you don't need it. It's easy. But like
Exactly. Why leave the
you're
house?
why leave the house? You're good to go. And so insurance, you have to approach it from a different direction because it really isn't something that you should hate because it really is protective. I mean, really, that's what it's for. It's all about the casino and what do you want to do and where is it smart to save and how is it the best way to do it. And that's kind of the big picture way to approach insurance. For Let's talk classics for just a minute if we can. I think
Absolutely. We got
we're
plenty of
bumping
time here.
against. Okay. So when it comes to classic car insurance, and we'll just use classic car to mean hot rod or whatever, right? Collectible car insurance. So when it comes to that, there are different companies that are available to do it. And here's the way that really works. So if you have a classic car, what does you guys have? Model A?
We just traded off the Model A, and I
Oh,
got a '56 Oldsmobile now.
oh, sweet. So your olds, what is it worth? If I'm buying it from you today, what am I paying?
Uh, Cash money, I'd sell it for about $8,000.
Okay, so 8,000 bucks. And I know that you drive it every day, right? That's your everyday type car.
Uh, no, no, my Oldsmobile, I drive it
It
on the
is a week. It's
weekends.
third car. Okay,
Yeah,
so it is collector car. No, no
yeah,
everyday stuff. All right, cool.
exactly.
So easy peasy. So, like my companies for that to cover that car for the full 8 grand, and really, if you were calling me, I'd say let's do 10 just to be easy,
Sure.
right? So $110 a year, and
Wow.
that's full. Yeah, I mean that's full coverage with no deductible, agreed value. And so here's the different ways to get classic car coverage. Okay, so regular car insurance, your Geico's or whatever, and even my regular car, your everyday car insurance is on an actual cash value basis. So what's your other car? What's your daily car?
My work truck, it's a 2010 GMC.
There you go. So what? $15,000 car, 20,
Uh, I'd say 15 is a good
15,
call on that.
right? But so when you get into negotiation, or when you total that, or it gets totaled, you're kind of in a negotiation phase because they're gonna say, well, we can find it for 11, and here's taxes and stuff taken out, and that's the price because you paid retail, and here's what we can get it for. Here's what it looks like. So that's always going to kind of suck. You never get what you think,
Right.
right? And that's actual cash value. And on a hot rod or classic or whatever on your Oldsmobile, they're going to say, okay, here's $1,000. Have fun with that because there's no blue book value on it, right? And that's what they can range from. And they're certainly not going to lean towards the $100,000, Barris car, right?
Exactly.
And so that's actual cash value. And that's great for your everyday car that's easy to replace and no big deal, or easy, but you know what I mean. So then there's stated value. So a lot of people use stated value and agreed value interchangeably. And it's important that you know the difference, especially if you're looking at classic car stuff. So stated value means you tell them my car is worth X. So let's say your truck has a bunch of toolboxes on it, right?
Okay.
And you say that truck with the toolboxes and shit I put on it is worth $20,000. I want stated value coverage for 20 grand. Well, that means that they can pay you up to $20,000 in the event of a loss. And that pay you up to, that's a pretty big asterisk for me.
Yeah.
It's easier with a special car, a specialer car. So we use stated value a lot for a lot of the custom Jeeps we do. The guys that do wacky stuff with their brand new car.
Yeah, and then it goes
Stated value
straight up
works
the
pretty
side of
well.
a wall.
Yeah, but stated value works pretty well for that kind of stuff because it's a modern vehicle, the cash value is reasonable, and the parts we can account for. So that can work out that way, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to a classic, what you really want is agreed value. So if your olds is worth 8, like I said, we'd go to 10. We go to the company up front, say, here's what it is, here's what it looks like, and here's what we want for it. And then they say yes or they say no, and then we issue the policy that way. And that way, that when you're driving that on Saturday to the Riverwalk, if somebody blows the stop sign and totals your car, you're going to get that. And that's why, and it's so cheap because it is your third car,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so that's,
Now we're about to
and
have a fourth car as well too.
even better. As long as you got an ass for every seat for dailies, we can make whatever work. But, what is the fourth car?
Sam's Buick comes home. She's got a '59 Buick,
Comes
uh,
home from where?
Illinois.
Oh,
We
that's right. You mentioned that last time.
we bought that Buick back in August, and a friend of ours is actually pulling it home for us. So
Nice. Does it
yeah,
run and
so
drive or is it a project?
running, driving,
Okay.
airbagged, has flamethrowers
Oh,
on it. She is so excited. You'd have no idea. Like she's probably gonna try to drive that as her daily driver.
so so in that case, for her daily driver, there are options for that. And like, so what do you think that car's worth? Let's guesstimate that one and talk about it.
20 all day long.
So 20 all day long. So what I would do with that one is we would do a stated value on it because she wants to daily it, right?
Yeah.
So we do a stated value, lowest deductibles you want to deal with, right? And we would do the stated value and bump it to like 30 because it's a lot easier to get the concession from the insurance company. Well, hey, we said 30 guys. Look, how about 20? Oh, okay, cool. Right. And that's understanding how that process works. And that's what a good agent's for. We have a longtime client and longtime friend who does C10 pickups, and he's done them since before we were in business. Just used to be a motorcycle buddy. Now he's a C10 guy. And he's built some magazine trucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, really, he's a fantastic builder, and he makes me want one every time I see him. Oh, this is awesome, right? But he has some challenges to his record and perhaps maturity, as we all have. He builds trucks with big old LSs in them, and they do burnouts like crazy, so he does that.
Yeah.
Well, as a result, we can't get him a classic policy because they won't do just anybody. You have to fit the parameters, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
it's cool. State of value works. We always bump him and all that sort of thing. And so he was doing donuts in a parking lot one day to show off his latest truck that had just been on the cover of a magazine, and he wrapped it around a light pole.
Oh
And I
no.
think we had that truck at 75 or 80 with a company with state of value. And they started at, oh look, here's a clapped out C10 we found on a farm numbers. And so yeah, but this is a company that we write a bunch of business with. This is a company that we have a really sterling record with, is putting good business. And we were able to help him negotiate with that adjuster and help him prove his case that, hey, here's the real value of this thing. And I think if we had it done for 85, because, cushion, he got 75 out of it. Whatever the number he really needed, he ended up getting because we know what we're doing and we've done this a time or two.
So I mean that's another big perk to having a good insurance agent is not so much the on the front end of buying the insurance and paying the monthly bill and all of that, but when something goes wrong, having somebody in your corner.
Yeah.
Like
And
that's
that's why the
huge.
independent is important because I have said this before to companies that we're no longer with. If this is what your claims look like, I think I'll pass on putting any more business with you. And I'm not some small dude in a strip mall. Like I said, I'm one of the biggest. And so having an agent, whether it's me or somebody else, there's other big ones too. Having an agent with real clout like that can come in handy.
Yeah.
And on the front end though, it's all about figuring out what kind of disappointments you're okay with. So also valuable.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. The only disappointments I'm okay with is the fact that I just lost a car and now I just have money in its place.
Yeah, and but so let's talk about Sam's car. So some of the companies, the classic car companies, she loves this car, right?
Oh,
It's her baby.
100%.
You're sleeping on the couch, the car's in the bedroom. I get it, right?
Yes.
But
She'd put it in
you
the
know,
living room if it fit.
you'll come home and she'll have a sawzall out front.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
so she loves that car. So some of these classic companies have a special thing called Cherish Salvage. And this is a new product. Once again, something I learn about so that you can learn about the new advances in your aircraft mechanic field, right? But I learned about all the new things coming. So Cherish Salvage means that she loves that car. She pays, I don't know, I'll make up a number, $5 a month extra. So that if it's totaled, they'll pay her the full amount it's covered for and let her keep it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it all depends on what you want. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you have plenty of art and stuff, but there are some collections that do automobilia along with it. So if you're one of those guys with the gas pump and all the signs and shit in his garage,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
cover that on your auto policy or your classic policy so that if you have a claim, you don't have a claim on your homeowner's policy. Because a
Oh,
homeowner's
wow.
policy, that'll make your homeowner's rates go crazy, right? But
Yeah.
a claim on your auto policy, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
You
And
know,
homeowners insurance for some reason has just been fluctuating like crazy on us. And of course, since I've got it rolled into my mortgage, then that
mhm.
means my mortgage payment changes every year because of the insurance changing every year. Yeah,
Right. Well,
it's a
here's the
nightmare.
truth of it. Is well, it doesn't have to be a nightmare. Really, it's a nightmare for me in that you know, not enough people use me because really all the guys that I have feel the same way. We all have insurance. We all don't want to pay it, so we want to help you out. But like for your homeowner's insurance, it is fluctuating a lot lately because we had a B billion dollar storm up here in North Texas, and you're not far from the coast. So I'm sure there was some people that got their houses washed away in whatever storm because God hates us anymore,
Oh, I
right?
know. Yeah. San Antonio
And so,
floods like crazy too.
yeah, so you're paying for that, and it sucks. But here's the, companies will come into markets to thinking that they know better than the companies that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years, State Farms, whatever, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
State Farms got to recoup that shit. And remember, they still got to pay Aaron Rodgers. So they got to recoup.
I love it.
They've got to they've got to recoup the losses from your neighbor, and you got to pay a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Insurance is unfortunately communism to a degree, right? But with as an independent agent, there are always companies that come in and say, "Hey, we want a piece of this market. We're undercutting everybody." It's a thing. It's a common thing called buying rate. So they'll come in and they'll buy rate and they'll insure your house for a year, 2 years until everybody else has losses or you do enough to make them go, "Whoa, we're out." And then you get back into the regular market, which may have adjusted by that point. So it's a game of movement.
Yeah.
And it's really a game of kind of following that rate. We had a company when I was a motorcycle guy, and they came in, and I'm sure that sport bikes, the little crotch rockets, the insurance is ridiculous. Uh, Yamaha finances those with essentially a credit card, so you don't have to carry full coverage like you do on a car. Like, well, we know you can't afford it, so here's a credit card, go buy a bike, right?
Right.
Um, but and so a guy who's 25, 30 years old even, they might get a $10,000 rate for full coverage on that bike.
Wow.
So this company was coming in and they did it for about 2 years and they put like $500,000 rates on it. And we
Wow.
told everybody, look, I will sell this to you, but it is going to go away. So take advantage while you can. If you're going to wreck your bike, this year is the year, right? But if you're not, take advantage of it while you can, and then we'll deal with what happens in a year or two. Pay that bike off, and you don't have to worry about it. But really, as long as you have a note on it, you should have full coverage. So let's take advantage. And there's a lot of that happens in all the markets. The hot rods too. There's all kinds of stuff that happens. Home, the whole thing. And so a good agent helps you really navigate that. One of the things that we do is because it changes so much, and because you've expressed in talking to me several times that insurance sucks.
And
And
that's probably a normal thing that you hear. I would imagine.
100%, 100%. But so what we do, because insurance sucks for you, is we take charge of it and go, hey, Matt, you're coming up for renewal. We need to talk in 30 days. We'll tell you if there's a better option or not. And then we do all the looking because we've got so many companies and we understand the market and we're moving stuff around. It's more like a stockbroker almost than what you think of as an insurance agent. But like I said, I pay insurance and I pay a lot of it. I have a lot of shit, as you well know. And so it comes down to how much can we chase the rate and not really screw you, because there's one more piece now that I want to talk about, which is your insurance score. You ever heard that term?
Never.
Okay. It's a real thing. You've got a credit score, right?
Okay.
I assume yours is in the 100 range.
Probably about 86.
86 is it matches your SAT score.
No,
Um,
honestly, just I mean, no, I know you're joking, but like I just have
yeah,
to throw it out there. You know what? Like Sam has been the like absolute most awesome about things of that nature. And
mhm,
one thing that she did going into this marriage was I'm going to improve your credit score and we are going to
yeah.
get a bigger house within 5 years. And I mean, she has just put her head down and barreled through every barricade that ever came up when it came to that. So she has been an absolute champion when it comes to no debt, paying off credit,
Awesome.
things of the past. And credit score
I
is
just
just
changed my name. It's easy.
the credit score is phenomenal lately because
Yeah.
of the things that she's doing. But
And it
yeah,
is unfortunately something you have to manage, right? Because good credit, you will get a better house, right?
exactly.
So the insurance score is similar. It has a couple different factors though. So credit is certainly part of it. If you've got good credit, check that box, right?
Right.
Your driving record, as we talked about earlier, you have one legit accident, one bullshit accident, so we can fix it to a degree,
Sure.
right? But it also comes into how you interact with insurance. And this is the big key, right? Because insurance companies want to work with people that buy into what they're selling.
Okay, that
Okay.
makes
And so,
sense.
right, because it costs them money every time you don't pay your bill and they have to send out a bunch of letters and emails or whatever else, right? And it costs them money every time that you could have kept your policy going and you didn't. You had to call them and get it reinstated. And if you notice that when you let your policy lapse, your insurance rate gets higher, right? Because you've made the companies mad. They don't like it because they know that it's going to happen at some point, and you may have your accident, and then you may not pay insurance the next month, and they have zero chance of recouping it.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. So that's really important. And so the longer you have insurance, that's a factor. The other factor is what kind of insurance you carry. So we talked about liability versus full coverage before,
Yeah.
right? And liability is the state minimum is 30,000 for Texas, 30,000 per person, 60,000 per accident and bodily injury, and 25,000 in property damage. It will probably cover most of the garbage cars on the road, right? But
Sure.
that's the minimum. But if you rock that minimum, that tells the insurance company you only buy insurance because someone's making you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So when you carry that higher limit, it makes you that much more attractive to the insurance companies because it says, I'm buying your bullshit, people. And really that's a big factor in the score. And so a lot of people don't consider that and don't and the insurance is the last bill you want to pay. And like
Right. Yeah.
there's some times when you turn the corner into adulthood when you say I will call that Uber, right? And when and when you say I will pay that ticket before it goes to warrant,
Right. Exactly.
right? Or when you say I'm not going to let this lapse anymore. It's one thing to take off coverage if you can't make that end meet and fix it, but you can't lapse it because that changes your score. And just like Samantha has helped you get your credit score to where she wants it to be, and presumably you do too, it's the same sort of thing that we do. So when we have clients come into our agency, our first thing, if there's, and we, it's not a number. We can't see it like you see your. I'll give you a compliment now. You're 820, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's an A and there's different factors for different companies, but we can kind of see where you fall because we write thousands of policies, so we know okay, good score, okay score, whoo, terrible score, got to rehab, and that guidance in getting you to go there to go from state minimum liability to liability number at 100 300 that's going to give you a good insurance score, it might not be as much as you think. It's once again worth making that decision because
Right.
maybe now's not the time, but you have to consider it, right? And it's not just for protecting other people. I'll say this: if you drive around a bunch of rich guys and like if you work in a hospital district, you better have higher property damage limits in 25, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Porsches
So
and BMWs and all that stuff.
yeah. So everything that Sam sees on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, smart money says that she should have high liability limits,
Yes.
high enough, because also it's going to have that dual effect. While you may pay $10, $20, let's say a month more for that higher limit and that's just at first, over the course of your next 5, 10 years, you save thousands of dollars because you're the guy that the insurance companies give the good rate to.
Yeah. That makes sense. And everything that we've talked about, that makes total sense. One thing that we do is we don't pay monthly. We pay 6 months to a year at a time, whatever they allow us to do so, and we pay
Right.
because a lot of the companies give you a break if you say I'll pay for 6 months up front rather than pay every single month. Uh,
Exactly.
is that necessarily a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to this score you're speaking
No, it's a
of?
good thing. It's a
Okay.
good thing because there's always that risk that you stop that policy, like we talked about. You don't pay that bill, right? But if you're paying it in full, that's why they give a good discount because they know that's not going to happen.
Right.
And it's a huge discount. I would also advise, if you're still buying a 6 month policy, stop. Always go with a 12-month policy for auto
Okay.
because it's such a roiling market. I mean, I don't know how it is in San Antonio, but in Dallas, there's 1,000 new people here every day, I think. Right. And
we
so
we were just up there, and I swear that those roads, man, those roads
it's
are
it,
terrible.
it's like Mad Max up here sometimes, right? And so with so many new people a day, that changes the way the risk pool looks because it is partly the region. You've seen it when you move from zip code A to B, your rates change, right?
Yes.
Well, when a zip code changes, fundamentally rates will change. And so if you've got a 6 month policy, you stand a much better chance, well, not a better chance, 100% chance of having an increase sooner than later. Here's the other secret to insurance. Naturally, it's always going to go up. Just get over it. You save
Yeah.
money, and we try to help save money. And every few years, you can move around and save money, but that baseline number always ratchets up every term.
Yeah.
So by doing a 6 month policy, you're putting yourself at risk for a big impact, like your accident.
Yeah.
If it happens to coincide with a renewal and 6 months, and you just had that accident, and the rate changes go up, man, that can be astronomical, like 100% leaps
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
one 6 month period to the next. So that's why you want to insulate yourself from that. Always an advantage to paying in full, um, depending on the company. Some companies don't, like homeowners insurance, for instance. Auto, if you pay in full, there's a big discount. Homeowners insurance, generally no. So if you're paying your own homeowners insurance, just let them draft out of your checking account once a month and keep that money in your account. So once again, depends on the company, depends on what the agent knows about what your goals are.
Huh. I that this whole episode has just been nothing but a absolute information dump on me for things that I absolutely need to be, more aware of. Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, well, so you can do one of two things. You can learn all this stuff, or you can find a good agent that you trust that really knows all that. I mean, really, that's the truth of it.
And that's honestly what I got from all of this. Absolutely wonderful conversation too, but the whole idea is that I definitely need to have a better agent rather than being calling a bunch of 1-800 numbers.
How much do you want to be an insurance agent?
Nobody does.
Well, I do. I enjoy it. It pays for my hot rods and my race cars and all the good stuff.
I
And
have
that's
to
the thing,
razz
is it?
you. I have to razz you some ways.
Well, I got to tell you that I think that's more true often than not. But the funny thing is that even though people don't want to do it, they still don't trust those of us that do.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I understand why. Really, Matt, it takes $50 and a 100 question test to be an insurance agent. It is not rocket science. I swear to God. I think I could do what you do given the right training. I know that you could do what I do given the right training. It's just that level of interest. So there's lots of agents out there. And when I started in this industry, the guy who I went to go work for said, okay, we sell insurance. Here are the company passwords. And I swear to God, that was 100% of all the training I had.
Oh wow.
And and that's really common, unfortunately, in this industry. Here's the passwords. Do you have a license? Okay, go. Have fun. And it's not I don't think super hard to be a good insurance agent, but there aren't a lot of us out there. There are
Yeah.
plenty of them,
You know,
but it's
it.
also easy to be not one.
And all jokes aside, I think that people's problem with insurance is, like what we're trying to alleviate here with this episode is the knowledge, knowing that what people can do for you and what people could be doing for you and aren't, or they might not like their insurance company,
Hmm.
because they're dealing with, having to call an automated service and press 9 for English and all of those things, and not having that personal connection with an agent that actually is working for them. So I think that's a big part of the kind of gray cloud that sits over everybody when they have to deal
Well,
with this.
I will freely admit I got in Dutch with Uncle Sam once. Okay, and it was a tax thing, and there were consequences. We'll say it that way, right?
Sure.
And it was not from me being nefarious. It was because I didn't have money and just a problem, right? And really part of it was because I continued and to this day continue to remain willfully ignorant about the ridiculous tax codes in this country, right? And
Yeah, but that's not a 100 question $50 test either.
it's not, but I pay an expert so I don't have to know that stuff. You know
we
what I
we
mean?
do the exact same thing.
Exactly, because
Absolutely.
it's a nightmare. My sister's so proud she does her taxes every year. I'm like, look, I don't. I write a check every month because it's easier for me to do that. And why would you want to go and try to learn about this foreign thing that's confusing, ever changing, and really dangerous to you if you don't get it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Insurance the same.
We've known several people, and of course, there's those scam phone calls that like to call you up and say that you're in trouble with the IRS and all of those things. But I too have personally known people that have actually been in trouble with the IRS, and simply like what you said, just because you didn't know, you
I
know,
didn't plan. I
check this
didn't work
box
plan.
rather than the other box, and
Right.
then now it's a 10 grand, penalty. Yeah,
Absolutely.
ridiculous.
And here's the other part of that story to parallel what I'm telling you to find an expert. I did find an expert. And that expert at one point said, I need you to sign this thing. And I said, okay, I'll sign it. And she drove across town and she had me sign it. And then I got a bill for $400 for her driving across town. And in every industry, there will people that take advantage of you
Yeah.
and want to. And really, insurance companies do to a degree as well. Um, Not to fuck you over, but to take advantage of your ignorance,
Yeah.
to save them money in the long run, right? And so that's why really having a professional, whatever it is really an important decision to make once again to kind of turn that corner into, well, I'll pay that ticket, I'll deal with an adult, right?
Mm.
Because you can do a lot of things yourself. I bet, well, I don't know, airplane mechanics, but I'm a fair mechanic. I could probably fix a car. I know that I could fix a car well enough to get it back on the road. Would it last a long time? Who the fuck knows,
Right.
right? But and you can probably buy insurance. I know you can buy insurance. It's super easy. There's a bunch of channels. We can go back to the top of the podcast, talk about that again. But but really, how good are you at it? And it's a money thing. And once again, people have this weird relationship to it, thinking it should be easy. Yeah, it should. Just like so should be taxes. So should airplane mechanic. All that shit. Everything should be easy.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that if everything was easy, then everybody would do everything all the time.
Right. And how
And
much do you enjoy the process of doing something that's not easy and frankly confusing?
nah,
Me, not a
no.
whole bunch. That has ultimately no reward. Well, there's reward to it in that when your house burns down, you're okay. But like at the end of a phone call with an insurance agent, when you're shopping for insurance, in the end, you're going to pay for something that you hope works out at the end.
Yes. Yeah, you're
And
hoping that you never have to use it.
right, you're hoping you never exactly because you love your car or whatever. My wife's car, I hope I have to use it because sometimes she drives ones that I hate. So, but ultimately, you hope that you don't ever going to use it, but you hope that when it's there and you need it, that it will absolutely do what you expect. And it's good to go into that knowing, okay, I'm good. This guy's a human being. He wants to sleep at night just as well as I do. Why would he screw me over? And it's really getting to that understanding and knowledge with people who really care about this. And when I was in high school, if you just said, you're going to really be passionate about insurance one day, I would have punched you right in the face. I mean, I swear to God. But I absolutely am because I feel personally like in high school we should have a 101 course for life. You know, how do you get
I
a loan on a
agree.
house? How do you buy insurance? How do you open and maintain a checking account? How does a credit card screw you over if you're not smart? I would say how to balance a checkbook, but I don't think anybody does that anymore.
No, no, not at all. And I apply my knowledge of knowing how to balance a checkbook to knowing when the debit card's being used more than it should. And I'm
Right.
like, No, no, that's not right. There's been a couple of times where we've actually gotten on the phone with the bank and found out, oh, there's a fraud. Not enough for
Right,
you to catch, but then, oh no, these little charges here and there. Somebody's using your card. Bam.
right.
But people wouldn't know to do that now.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because there's no one-on-one. They should teach people that in high school,
I'll tell you
and
right
just
now,
so
I've bought in two
to set you
houses
free.
now,
Hmm.
and I don't know how I did either one of them.
Me either.
Having a clue.
I I'm on my second home as well, and I've always worked with the same person because really it was painless. She said, "Send me these." I sent them to her, and
Done.
and it was just that easy. And because I didn't want to tell her how to do it, I just said, here's the end result I'm looking for." But with insurance, a lot of people call us telling us how to do it and really making decisions that we know are bad. And so we won't write a bad policy. If you want to do it, you can do it elsewhere, not with me.
Yep.
But, we try to help people from making poor decisions, whether it's I want to do it my way and then I'm not interested, or I want to make this decision that is not a terrible decision, but I don't quite understand the ramifications of it. So we'll help you understand that, you know?
I absolutely dig that, man. This has been a great episode, honestly. It's funny because it's a topic that just is not typically thought of to be something that everybody wants to talk about at end's length, right?
Right. I mean, I'll talk your
But
ear off. Now, to be fair, if you guys see me at a hot rod show, I will not do this to you.
no, he'll buy you drinks and yell for your wife to win a pinup contest. So
Exactly, exactly. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just like all you guys. I hope this was a good episode. Insurance can be cross-eyed boring. And I hope that I kind of brought some light into the sky for you to understand a little bit better.
well, for me personally, you have, and I've actually enjoyed this very much. For our listeners out there, you got to deal with insurance at some point. You got to, insure these cars that you're bringing out to car shows, and you've put time and money and sweat, blood, tears, everything into it. You might as well, protect it. What's the easiest way to do so?
Well, it's all about that informed decision. You don't have to. I mean, really, it's up to you, but you should make an informed decision so you don't get screwed in some other way. I there's a guy I went to a car show in Pueblo, and he had I think it was a Duesenberg. It was one of those crazy Hollywood cars, right?
Yeah.
And it was the first time off the trailer, and beautiful car, incredible, and $100,000+ car. I was like, hey, and he was driving around town because Pueblo is a big driving around town show. He's driving around town, and we ran into him at Coors Diner, and we're talking. And I said, who insures that car? It's so rare. I'd really like to know. And he's like, I don't have insurance on it.
Oh my
It's like,
god.
holy shit, man. And it's not like it's crazy expensive. I know that's not his only car he has, so cheaper that way. But it's amazing how much people just don't even consider it. Every big show we go to, Good Guys, NSRA, whatever, there's always someone who walks up and goes, hey, can you get me insurance today? I drove it out here without insurance. 100% of the time. And it's just nutty. I mean, not really. From a legal standpoint, I don't think anybody's pulling you over and necessarily, well, I don't know. I know some of you guys, but ultimately, I don't think he's worried about hurting somebody else. It's about hurting what you have and someone else doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's my big thing with it is, I've like you, drive fast and know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
That whole thing, but have somebody jump out there. Have somebody wreck into you while your car's sitting in a parking lot. That is I lost a truck one time that was parked in front of my house. I had the cops banging on my door at 4 in the morning, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like, is this your truck? And I was like, no, no, no. I'm already home. I did not put my truck in the front yard. And they're like, no, no, no. You didn't. Your neighbor did. And
Oh
my
no.
neighbor came home just lit and
Hmm.
wrecked into my truck, ran it all the way up into my front yard.
Oh no.
And it's like, I'm not so much worried that I'm going to wreck my things and hurt them. It's the whole rest of the world out there.
Yeah. It's all about that calculated risk. I mean, just as you're listening to this podcast, dear listener, look around while you're driving and see how many people are out there eyeballing their phones more than the road. It's one of the reasons I stopped riding bikes in the city. It's ridiculous.
We used to laugh at all the, ladies putting makeup or people eating while they're
Hmm.
driving and all
Oh
this.
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the age of the cell phone is just taking over everything. I
Right.
mean,
And modern cars are frankly big couches and too easy to drive. And so people count on all that stuff to keep them safe when in reality, you still need to make sure the nut behind the wheel is tight enough.
absolutely. I like that. I like that a lot, man. Well, we will let our listeners get back to what they normally do on a Tuesday, and I will let you get back to what you're doing tonight. So, in all things custom, keep it cool.
Bing, bang, boom. See you next Tuesday.
Don't say see you next Tuesday.
I can poop anywhere.
We know.